As he rubbed his head, he opened his eyes and looked at Roswitha, who was sleeping beside him. I fell into depravity again last night. He placed his other hand on the bed and supported himself to sit up. Because yesterday's activity with Roswitha was too intense. His head was still a bit dizzy. It's all the trouble caused by that blood curse. It made me let go of my pride and dignity as a dragon slayer, and beg her to have a good time with me for one night. As an excellent dragon slayer who had killed countless dragons, he was ashamed of his fall. He once again broke the bottom line he had set for himself. He gritted his teeth and turned his head to look at Roswitha. This is another shame of breaking the bottom line. At this moment, Roswitha had not yet woken up. She closed her eyes, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep due to exhaustion. Seeing that Roswitha had a great time last night and is still comfortably sleeping, Leon feels a little jealous. As the culprit, you had a great time playing and slept soundly. You look defenseless. Leon reached out his hand and caressed her face. Suddenly, he found himself subconsciously caressing her face. When he reacted, his face was slightly flushed. Leon immediately withdrew his hand. He was surprised by what he had just done. He stared blankly at Roswitha in front of him, unable to believe that he had taken the initiative to touch her face. Hey, what am I doing? How could I subconsciously touch her face? He placed his hand in front of his mouth, pretending to be calm and analyzing the intention behind his previous actions. He muttered to himself with a flushed face. How could I want to touch her? I just wanted to wake her up. There was absolutely no other intention. After consoling himself, Leon turned his gaze back to Roswitha. Roswitha, who was supposed to wake up early, unusually didn't wake up on time today. In the past, even if she was tired at night, she would still wake up on time the next morning. Leon thought in confusion. Why didn't she react? Did she pretend to be asleep? Leon thought that Roswitha had already woken up, just pretending to be asleep and watching his reaction just now, and then suddenly sat up and laughed at him. He leaned down gently and poked her forehead with his fingers, trying to expose her act of pretending to be asleep. Hey, don't pretend to be asleep. Noticing that poking her in the forehead hadn't woken her up, Leon gently patted her face with his hand again. Get up quickly. Aren't you usually quite self-disciplined? However, Roswitha was like falling into a deep sleep, unable to wake up no matter how Leon calls. Leon found it strange that he couldn't wake up Roswitha, and there was no sign of her waking up. He furrowed his brow, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and looked at her lost in thought. He began to suspect whether it was a side effect of her casting the blood curse last night. Why hasn't she woken up yet? Is she under the influence of the blood curse? The degree of influence of magic depends on the physical fitness of the person casting it. When I was on the brink of death, I cast the blood curse. Although I didn't know how to survive, it still left me unconscious for 2 years. Roswitha is a healthy body of the Dragon Queen, and is expected to be in a coma for a week or so. Roswitha is still sound asleep, with a slight breath coming out of her mouth. Leon held his chin with his hand, pondered for a while, and made a decision. Isn't this the perfect opportunity for me to escape? Knowing that Lorsivs won't wake up for now, Leon has a chance to escape from here. His gaze became serious, and he revealed an evil smile. Leon immediately left the bed and got dressed. Based on the intelligence he had previously learned, he traced the clues and opened one of the drawers in the cabinet in the room. There is not only a string of keys with a warehouse in the cabinet, but also a bottle of medicine and a bottle of pills. He plans to take his equipment before escaping. In a week, with the physical fitness of an ordinary human, one cannot run far. But wearing black gold chariot is different. Combined with the medicine and bolus to restore my physical strength, as long as I run with all my strength, it is enough to bring me back to the human realm. He put the key into his pocket while putting the medicine and bottle into another pocket. He had a cheerful expression on his face, as if he could be sure that he could seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to quickly escape from here. After taking what he wanted, Leon crossed his hands on his hips, turned around, and looked at Roswitha lying in bed, imagining what would happen if she found him missing. When she wakes up and finds out I'm missing, it's already too late. Ha ha ha. Leon closed his eyes, looked up, and laughed heartily. He could imagine the furious appearance of Roswitha. However, gradually, Leon's laughter weakened. Suddenly, his smile slowly froze. His eyes turned to the side, as if he had remembered something. He sighed. Is it really okay for me to leave like this? He lowered his hands like a deflated ball, and lowered his head together. He feels somewhat depressed about his current situation. He put the keys, potions, and pills back into the drawer, while carefully considering what he had already experienced. Come to think of it, it has been 2 years since I left the Empire, and I am unsure of the current situation there. There are still a lot of doubts about the fact that I was captured back then, and it's also risky to go back hastily, so it's better to be cautious. In Leon's memories, it seems that he also experienced something, and this event may have been the key to his current status as a captive of the Dragon clan. If he goes back like this, unexpected dangerous things may happen. Leon decided to give up this opportunity to escape. He walked slowly to the window while thinking seriously. He remembered entrusting Roswitha to help him check on his master's affairs before. Besides, I have already asked Roswitha to investigate the master's recent situation before. Maybe I should wait for their news again. The most important thing is... Leon lifted his head and looked out the window at a lawn with gentle eyes. In the garden of the Silver Dragon Castle, Noah and Muin were playing together. At this moment, Muin saw a beautiful purple butterfly. She ran towards the butterfly and reached out her hand, trying to catch it. She excitedly said to Noah standing behind her, "Noah, catch it quickly." Noah calmly followed behind Muin and spoke slowly to Muin running ahead of her. "Slow down, don't fall." Watching these lovely daughters playing and frolicking on the lawn with a happy smile, Leon knew he couldn't leave them behind anymore. I can't leave them now. Leon closed his eyes and smiled lightly, then shook his head and sighed. Ah, sure enough, I still have to stay in the Silver Dragon Castle now. He turned around and walked towards the bedside. Roswitha still sleeps soundly. He looked at her and whispered, "After all, I haven't had my revenge yet. Wouldn't you say Roswitha? Leon smiled and looked at her, while Roswitha lay in bed, breathing evenly.
Hey! Have you heard about it? SF Light Novel is going to share a new comic. I have already shared a new comic. The name of this comic is The Blonde-Haired Villain. In Girl Overlord novel, also longs for happiness. I have already shared the relevant content of this comic in this video. You can click on this video to learn about the comic story and character information. If you are interested, you can subscribe to my channel and wait for the sharing of new comic.